Hello, my cello friends. We're going to be working on the E and B major scales. So grab your cello. Let's tune. Here's A. Here's D. G. C. Okay, so the two scales that we're going to be covering today are the E and B major scales, respectively, because we're going to start on the lowest and then go to the higher. This is going to be using kind of a variation of some patterns that we've used before. We've learned this finger pattern, and we've also learned this finger pattern where we use second finger instead of third finger. But we're also going to learn a new concept today called shifting. Shifting is when you move your hand on the fingerboard to access new notes. We only have 4 fingers, right? And that should only get us like 4 different pitches. But there are a lot more notes that we can reach, and now that we're more advanced and it's at the end of the year, we're going to learn how to access these scales, okay? So, the first thing you should know when we're starting to talk about E major is that we're going to start where we normally have put our third finger, okay? So here is E. Match that with your third finger on the C string. Now, remember our extended position where we reached forward? Okay, do that now. In fact, I would like you to do this exercise where you grab your first finger and let the rest of it hang. I've heard this explained like a banana, like you're grabbing a banana from a bunch of bananas and they all just hang, okay? Grab your first finger and then let your left hand just hang. Make sure you're holding your left hand with your right pinch your fingers, okay? That's what it should feel like when you're reaching forward to get here, okay? So here I am normally reaching forward. Here's a forward extension. So we've got the E, and then fourth finger just plays that next note where it lies, E, F sharp. Now here is the tricky part. The next 2 notes we need to play are in a different position, not pattern, position. Here we are in an extended position. More like called an extended first position, because first position is everything we've been playing right here. But half position, well, that's kind of like the B flat and the E flat, or E flat and B flat respectively, that we played in Sahara Crossing. But the point of being in that position is that we're not pointing back to it, but we're there. Some of you have done the incorrect fingerings before now, and I've seen you. It's worked, but now the concept is instead of reaching back for those notes, we are moving our whole hand there. Remember, whenever we move, that our thumb is behind our second finger, okay? So, in a shift, we need to go backwards into a new pattern, pattern 2, okay, with first and second finger close together. Well, they really don't change how close they are together, but we use second finger instead of third finger. Watch your thumb, make sure that it goes with you. Now notice the slide sound I made there with the fourth finger? That's how we're going to practice this. Do that with me. Ready, go. Now we should be in half position where we reach for on our first finger to the G string, and then we do our second finger. That's the first half of our scale, okay? Do that with me again. Ready, and shift. And if that shift is giving you some trouble, do some of these where you're like riding on the top of the rails, okay? You can either hold the string down, or you can just let your fingers glide in the middle of them, or glide on top, whatever floats your boat. But just notice how your elbow angles change and how your fingers adjust to stay in a straight line as it's moving. Okay, enough talk. Let's play it again. 1, 2, ready, and. Now shift forward. We're going to go to this note. this again. Do that again from half position. Ready, and okay, now go from here. Then 4, shift back, and then first finger on the D string. And that's the top half of our scale, okay? Same thing both times. 2, 4, shift, 1, 2, shift, 2, 4, shift, 1, 2. Okay? Let's do that whole thing with the slidey sound. 1, 2, ready, and. Now here we're going to shift on different fingers. First, second, first. Practice that last one as many times as you need to, identifying which finger it is that you shift on. Now, that's not the real way we play the scale. That's just the way that we get the motion down in our brains, in our bodies. Once you practice that 10 times, come back to this video and do this scale with me. With very little pressure in between each shift, you're going to bring your fingers up and slide them on top of the string. This is the time where you need to be careful not to push down, but you're just gliding on top of the string. At the same time, your bow will give a little bit of a release off of the string, a little subtle one. You know how when you play that you don't want to be heard so that Mr. Burke doesn't catch you? Yeah, that's what you're going to do on purpose now, okay? All right, here we go. 1, 2, ready, and. If you're having trouble getting there in time for the next note, leave early. As my cello teacher taught me, it's better to leave early than to be late. So just skip on the last note a little early and head there to the next position. Okay, so that's what it sounds like when you're playing the E major scale. Okay, second finger on the C string. Remember, it's extended second finger on the C string. Now we're going to do the same thing. We should know this part already from the G string. Let's do it with the slidey sound this time. Ready, and. After you practice that 10 times, come back and practice this scale with me with no slidey sound. Ready, and. Is our B major scale. Okay, so you learned 2 scales today, E and B major. Remember, the biggest concept that you need to learn with shifting is that second finger always stays with thumb. They're apart from each other on the fingerboard, okay, and the neck. When you shift, up and over, release, and then up and over, back, okay, up and over, forward, up and over, back. Let's try it with the slidey sound. That helps a whole lot, and then you can practice the release. When you release, up and over with the bow, up and over, back, okay? All right. I'm going to talk to you guys later. Thanks very much for working with me, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.